in the bid for the installation.
And if that's what the results was of that action that we had up there, does that minutes reflect the intent of what we had stated up there? I think that's the important thing. So it would be in the minutes,
And
in the body of the minutes of July 21st.
And I do believe that, according to City Attorney Sue, is that should give Deb the chance to listen to the tape
There it
to
is up
see,
on the
to see
wall.
what
The
was
motion
exactly
made.
said.
Okay. And the tape will hopefully clarify it. The motion specifically requires that the project be installed as advertised. We all agree on that. The contractor shall provide design installation of two 2,000-gallon concrete, H20 load rated, meaning don't drive over, and vacuum required with, help me out there, Jerry, you're closer, total quote price shall include all applicable Minnesota state and county holding tank permits. The proposed work shall be completed by September 1st, 2022. It is silent when it comes to that portion of what was the actual specifics of the 2,000-gallon concrete load rated, and what does the word design and installation, and that's not clear to me.
And that's what
that
we
implies.
discussed up there. What are you determining by installation? That's what I kept asking.
Yeah.
What are we saying here?
And the minutes are silent as it relates to the action that we took up there and the directive that I sensed that we all had in our mind when the motion was taken.
There is if you go just above that, it states, under considerable debate, a motion was made by Becker, second by Tiplett, to place the tank 50 feet east of the wall, 10 feet from the building, and a maximum of 4 feet deep. Basically, right there, it's stating that it's 50 feet of pipe, 10 feet from the building.
Yeah. That's the portion just above that.
And that
Thanks,
was
Deb, for
a
going.
motion by Becker and a second by Tiplett, and that's what it stated, and
Yeah.
it passed unanimously.
Okay. And I think if that's the case, that we look at that portion of it right there, in my mind, it becomes more clear or something like that. So we assume that that's what was intended. And so I have no problem that the minutes now are adequately reflecting what is intended to be the end result. So if anyone would care to, if not, then I will make a motion to approve the Rockville Council minutes of both July 13th and July 21st, 2022 as presented. Hopefully there's a second.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the Rockville City Council meetings both July 13th and July 21st, 2022. Any additional discussion?
And under that, it is stated that if it is determined that is insulated pipe, that will be X.
That is exactly right. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passed unanimous. Okay, we shall continue. Department reports. Lieutenant John Whitmer is not in the building, but that I see. He did have, I believe he had a report for us. Any comments, questions? No council action is needed. If we have, sensing not from anyone, we will move along. Legal. We have a resolution 2022-39 joint powers agreement that's before us. Council action packet, page 137. And in there, obviously, the third, therefore, states that Dwayne Willenbury, Mayor of the City of Rockville, and Martin Bodie, the City Clerk, are authorized to sign the State of Minnesota Joint Powers Agreement. Past Administrator Bodie would no longer have the appropriate signature on that, but a test on the bottom. We need to change this. So the spirit of the resolution does not change. It's just that needs to be cleaned up. Just pointing that out to the council. And so I believe, Sue, is there something that you need to, it's regarding legal, maybe you can just shed some light on, irrelevant of the names, but from your perspective?
This, what we're asking for is that you approve the joint powers agreement that allows my office as the city prosecutor to obtain BCA information that we need in order to establish levels of offenses and criminal histories.
Did we not do that some time ago at the spring of the year when we were talking prosecuting of county versus the JDA, or is this?
No,
Don't
we
believe
did
so.
not do the
No.
joint powers agreement.
Oh, the joint powers, okay, that's apples and oranges.
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Okay, with the stipulation that the names get changed, obviously, Bill, right? Goes without saying. Okay, so you've heard the motion, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and second to advance resolutions 2022-39 joint powers agreement. Discussion. Sensing none, call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Passed unanimous. Engineering, resolution, construction, bid and awards, contract, there's two back-to-back, and floor is yours. Justin, please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As was discussed in the workshop, we received two bids for the two projects. The first project is the Prairie Industrial Park Lift Station rehab. We received two bids. The low bid was from CC Steel LLC of Maple Plain, Minnesota, in the amount of $655,150. That was approximately $100,000 less than the bid received on April 5th, 2022.
Okay, Justin, 1 second, please. Debbie, could I ask you to scroll ahead to page 13, where are we at?
156.
156.
156, thank you. Please proceed, Justin.
Yep. It is my recommendation to award the bid for the Prairie Industrial Park Lift Station to CC Steel in the amount of $655,150. If council so desires, there is a resolution in your packet on the next page. It'd be my recommendation to approve that resolution. If you want to handle these one by one, Mayor, or I
Yes,
can go on to the next one.
we'll have those as separate action items here, or something like that. So you've heard the recommendation of our engineer. What's the wishes of the council? Any clarification that we need?
Just one
Sure,
point
please
of
proceed.
clarification.
Yeah.
Justin, I believe there's money left on our bond that we did for the road that we could use here, is that correct?
I'm not sure of the bond that you've actually sold, if there's money left on that. I'm not sure that there would be adequate money on that. I couldn't say 100% for sure. I don't believe there is. But there is, I know, remaining funds left from the five-year street CIP. So the public hearing that you held for the overall five-year
Yep.
plan,
Yep.
that you can still
Yep.
sell another bond for.
That's
Yes.
what I was
Yep.
referring to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And very briefly, as I understand it from past administrator, this, if we go ahead with this this one, there is adequate money in the reserve, but again, that would take, at a time, we would have then council action to take it out of the reserve, or out of there to pay, because it's a separate enterprise fund, because it falls under the fact that it is enterprise fund, when that could be determined, how it should be paid for. But today, we do have the funding available in reserve to be able to pay for cash flow purposes. Okay? So that should not stop us from proceeding. And this is a time bomb that's hanging out there. We have to act on this tonight. I plead with you, council members.
I'll
So,
make a motion to
Thank you.
approve the
Recommendation to approve.
Prairie Industrial Lift Station rehab bid.
Resolution 2022-40.
Yeah, whatever resolution
Okay.
number that is, yeah.
Yep. And so we'll get back to the agenda, and that is, a motion's been made to advance resolutions 2022-40, consideration of bids and awards of contract Prairie Industrial Lift Station. So that's just the lift station at the Prairie Industrial and all of the affiliated work that goes with it, miscellaneous piping and all that good stuff. Is there a
But
second?
does that affect the bid if we don't do them all?
No,
It does
there's a,
not.
no.
Okay, well, I will second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Additional discussion. Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of resolutions 2022-40, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passed unanimous. Justin, please proceed with item 2.
Second project was rehab of lift stations for Grand, Pleasant, and Voight. Again, we received 2 bids on the project. We bid this as 2 options. Option A included the furnishing and installation of a fiberglass reinforced plastic liner, an FRP liner, for all 3 lift stations. Option B included a cementitious and epoxy rehabilitation coating on all 3 of the lift stations. We received a bid from CC Steel for both options. The option A was $1,201,000, and option B was, let me get to it here, $1,078,925. Option A does have a longer lifespan, a little bit more of a robust system. If the city does want to move forward with this project, it is my belief that due to the limited extra cost, it would be advantageous for the city to go with option A and award to CC Steel at the amount of $1,201,000.
Okay, you've heard the recommendations from our city city engineer. Okay, that would be resolutions 2022-42, correct?
41.
No, 41. What's the wishes of the council? Before we get into it too far, a lot of talk has been done in the past. You've heard in the deliberations earlier during the workshop that it's not at that point of failure, certainly. And if I'm wrong with my choice of words, please, Justin, step in. It's not as time sensitive as the first resolution that we just passed. We don't want to put it down too far, but quite frankly, from cash flow and as a past business person, there's a lot of money that's been going through the checking account this year in Rockville, and I would probably urge that we take no action on it at this point. And if we do take no action, that would be then finishing what we need to do rather than to turn it down if we take no action. Is that an appropriate way of disposing that from the
Mayor, Council,
agenda?
just to remind you, there is a 60-day hold period on the bid. So you would have 60 days from the date of bid opening to take action. The bid has to be held at that price for 60 days. So you could choose to table, you could choose to accept the bid, table the action at this time, or reject the bid.
Or reject the bid, and reject the bid would mean then down the road, there would be another opportunity for the bidding, if it's whatever. So Susan?
Justin, what's your recommendation?
Yeah.
I do feel like the city has to address this at some point. I do think it will continue to get worse, so I think it would be, I think at some point the city does need to take a look at this and do something. Otherwise, at some point, it will, I think it's on a much slower deterioration rate than Prairie Industrial Park, and I think it will continue to be at that slower rate. But I do think something should be done there to protect your infrastructure.
So if I could Justin, the work that the Bolton Mink has done, that has a little shelf life. I mean,
Yep.
You don't need to go back to that. So
Nope,
then
unless you
if we're
decide to do
just,
something different completely.
yeah, right. But I mean, assuming that the same scope of work that would continue, and it's, if it's a year or two or something like that, and we have adequate staff now to be able to keep a closer eye on this. One of our new additions have exclusively, that's his duties now.
Mm-hmm.
And so to that end, as we progress forward, if the validity of the council sees the same thought process, we don't lose that effort that we have there. We would then give you the directive that now you can turn that, you have a bid bond, that would be released again. But all of the other work that you've done up to this point is not lost.
Correct.
Assuming that this council or a future council would act on that, is there a time certain that you think that we have? Is it a year or two that we would have that before that
million-dollar
information becomes stale and that we'd have to have re-engineering or something like that?
I mean, we would take a glance at everything. You know, if it's more than a year out, we would glance through. I mean, the general conditions can change. The EJCDC documents can change. It's a minimal amount of work compared to what we've done.
Okay.
So I wouldn't base your decision on that, to be honest with
And
you.
I think I'm just sharing that to the council so that if we make this informed decision, that's not money that's lost.
Question for you,
Go ahead,
Dwayne.
Brian.
Do you remember when we went out to Spicer?
Yep, we did a site visit, the two of us, yeah.
What was the chemical that they were dumping in their sewer system that was so simple
Yep.
and it made a huge difference? I think we should maybe start using that to
Yep.
help
Great
prolong
point.
where we're at.
Great point. A prime example why committees work. Okay, we will have committees in the future again in Rockville. To that point, there is, and I have it in my notes, we'll call them again if it's instantly
Was
great
it
revelation.
bleach or what? There was
It
something.
was a simple
just
thing,
a
a household
something that-
bleach or whatever that is is not
Do you
impregnated.
guys remember when we had
Yeah,
that discussion?
remember? No. Justin, do you recall offhand?
I don't recall what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
Great
about.
point.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's
But
what
I
it,
think we should start utilizing that and see if it makes a difference.
Yeah.
At least maybe
Well-
hold it where it's at anyway.
we'll have, like, Tom, our staff person, engaged in that process, and maybe you and I will
Perfect.
just, we'll
Perfect.
have a little mini workshop. Not
Can you
a-
give
we
us
don't
an
have a
idea of
subcommittee.
what the life expectancy of Grand and Pleasant is if we table it for now? Are we good for a couple years?
I think
No,
so.
no.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be concerned as long as you keep a close eye on it. I think you're good for a couple of
Was
years.
there not limited deterioration going on in these lift stations?
I'm sorry. Say again.
There was limited
Limited.
deterioration?
Yes,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
call it.
And-
So
and-
basically, I mean, even with it being about, like, right now, 1.2 million is what you're looking at. I mean, this year, right now, the times are a little bit tougher than what normally. I mean, maybe in a couple of years, down the road, 3 years, whatever it takes, you know, the prices may even be down by then.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay, let's deliberate. Is there a motion, would be in order? What's the wishes of the council
I would
to,
make a motion, we reject the bid at this time,
to release the, not go forward and
not go forward with the
and release the bid bond?
bid bond, yes.
Okay, clarity for all of us. Is there a second to that motion?
I'd second that.
Okay, motion's been made and second to give a directive to our administrator or to our engineer along with our assistant administrator to advance the, what is it? The process of getting back the bond to all of the bidders that were in there and curtail any more activity on that one. So that's the gist of this motion. And second, any other discussion? Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion, 2022-41. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, let's go through the roll call. The motion, Mr. Bill Becker,
No.
Mr. Jerry Tipple,
Yes.
Dwayne Willenbring, yes. Brian Stanger,
Yes.
Brian Herberg.
Yes.
The motion will show that the motion prevailed on a 4-1, on a 4-1 vote. Okay, here's where we include in item number 8D, Fire Department. And who wants to have it first? Tim, are you giving us your thunder, or is it Jerry?
I want to go first here.
Okay, my friend, go ahead.
Good news first here. First thing is, the chief would like you to know the SCBA's, the new ones we purchased, were in service on Monday night. A lot of positive feedback. I can tell you the change was minimal. The old ones and the new ones, we stayed with the same brand. Very happy with them. Very, very good. We will need to talk to Willie Ryan. We will have to, for our budget, we will have to do a little bit of an adjustment for flow testing. So we'll have to do just a minor adjustment before things move forward. The last thing is an FYI for the council from a previous meeting in June, I believe. We requested a meeting for our relief pension update with our accountant and guys can decide where you want that, I would assume down here, would be easiest.
What time?
11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Doesn't have to go that long, doesn't need to. It's just that's the time that they set aside for us. Other than that, I think everything life is good.
August 25th, 11:30 to what?
11:30 to 2. Yes, yeah, you're by 2. Everything else.
And that is the, one more time, Tim.
This is the meeting.
fire relief.
Fire relief, we got it.
I'm reporting for Ron Boss.
Yep, got it.
He was
Very
trying
good.
to get the message down here, he's been struck.
Got it. Okay, and so that needs to be circulated then, if more than 3 of us council members are there, that it's a meeting, a special
I'll
meeting?
tell about that.
Well,
Okay.
you're safe, I can't make it.
Okay, so if there's more than 3, and maybe we don't need to, maybe we should only be a maximum of 2 council members, then we don't need it, but let's just, we'll have the proper noticing taken care of, that there is a meeting. Yep,
We have more than there.
yep,
Any
thank you.
questions for us?
Nope, thank you, Tim. And you can stick around for the exciting thing, or you're
I'm here
excused.
for duration. so-
Okay, my friend, thank you for your comments. And so make sure that if you have Deb, remind yourself, and I will, so that in the flux of lots of stuff going on here, that we don't forget to get that for proper noticing for open meeting law. Okay.
Mobile Cascade, I passed out some information to you guys. It's readings that our firemen are taking on our mobile Cascade system. If you compare the readings, we're continuously losing pressure on it. Someone has to take ownership on this, and I thought, Brian, were you talking to Alex Air about this? Are you going to call him?
I will call them tomorrow and,
This isn't a dump truck we're working on. We gotta get this thing fixed. People's lives depend on this, so
I will talk to them again tomorrow and.
we either need
put a
to
little
move
heat
on it or
them.
get it
Yeah.
replaced.
And so do we know the specific nature of it? Is it the piping? Is it the tanks themselves? We
That's
don't know.
what we wanna find out.
Okay, got
It's
it,
in the
got it.
truck.
Okay.
It's leaking air somewhere.
Okay.
We gotta document it here.
Yep, I see it.
This is the second time they've approached me on it, so we need to act.
Duly noted. And you've heard Brian state that he will do it if
Okay.
it takes special activity.
That's
or-
what we
it
wanna
doesn't
do.
take council action, it just
Nope.
put the
Just
little iron on the
somebody's
fire.
gotta do it.
And you're in charge.
We'll
of
do that tomorrow.
Got it, my friend. Okay, thank you. Please proceed. Anything else? If not, we'll move to action items. Council action workshop, appropriations, allocation, transfers. No action is needed there. Just a standard each and every week. Inspectron Building Services contract. I talked to both Mark and Ron today. And there is what they'd like to do, rather than to go and blindly go forward, we have a continuation of the inspection, so if Debbie somebody comes in, get a building permit, they continue it, but they want to do come in, and because of the clarity or lack of clarity with the Public Works building, they would prefer to have a visit with the 5 council members to reassert that they want to do their proper job. So he's recommended that we do not act on it. All we are is just, and then they're looking at their values have not changed drastically, but they just want to come there. So it's strongly urged that we don't need to do any action on it at this stage of the game. Okay? So there's no inaction, that clears it off the agenda. So does that take a motion to postpone any action? Is that the appropriate one? If we don't do any action, we have neutralized it and it's off the agenda. And they suggested it would be in a workshop. So in the next workshop, then we'll have them come up, so it's not a special meeting. Okay, thank you very much. We now have item number C, Senator Howe. I ran into him today, or no, yesterday. He was down when we were voting, and I asked him, I said, I invited him down. He said, I'm not available. He's traveling. So he said, if your ears are ringing tonight, it's because we're giving you accolades. So a letter was sent to Mayor Willenbring. I'll dispense with all of the League of Minnesota Cities. Please share your recognition with your city council and public at their next city council meeting. We also urge you to share this information with your local newspaper. We have newspaper representatives in the building. tonight, and so we want to publicly acknowledge legislator for their support of friendly legislation. And so here's the actual one, the Honorable Jeff Howe, and it's the Minnesota State, and it's a lot, I'll just paraphrase a bit. Dear Senator Howe, on behalf of 837 member cities, I want to thank you for your efforts, and it has a great big paragraph, and then another one, and then to acknowledge your contributions last session, mayors of each city in our legislative district will receive notification of your recognition. A press release will also be issued to the media in your area. City officials and league staff look forward to continue to work with you in the future. Sincerely, Ron Johnson, council member from the city of Bemidji, who is our newest president of the League of Minnesota Cities. So to that end, I believe that if there are representatives from someone that would want to, I have my back scribbled. No, I can give this one, but it's only be appropriate for us to congratulate Senator Bodie again. Senator Bodie, I'm sorry, I lost it for a second. Let me back up. That was bad. Let me just back up. Senator Howe. Let us congratulate Senator Howe for a great job wherever he may be this evening, and we give him accolades. Okay? Jeff, if you hear us, we just did it. Comments from any of the council members? Sensing none? And of public, if you see Senator Howe, I invite you, please give him your proper accolades. To that end, we now have, under others, we have reminder in November.
No, we have D,
Yep,
E, and F.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, before we get to other, you're right. So under other,
No, it's under action.
actions, E, next step for city administrator, reinstate administrator, assistant, and financial director. Susan, if you would please just give us a brief, what do we do next for the public? The council had our Deb on leave, paid leave for 2 days. She had a...
I don't think we should discuss
Okay,
that.
okay, and if it takes something that we need to discuss, it can go into closed session, but I believe that, as I understand it, we need to give a directive so that they know that they should be back, and the administrative assistant is not the key one, it's the financial director. Time is of the essence. So how do we go about getting Judy back here, and the pros and cons, risks, whatever, that we have? And we are obviously need to be very cautious of how we approach this.
For the record, we already brought Debbie back.
Yes, we have,
So we
of
don't
course.
need any action on that?
No, no
I'll-
action needed on administrative assistant, but the financial director.
Right, so all we're looking for is a motion to bring her back from her leave.
So moved.
Second?
Effective Monday, I believe.
Yeah. And I chatted with her today. We have payroll that we need to get out.
No discussion.
Yeah, we need to just get
I
clarity.
know, let's take the vote.
A motion to
I'll
bring
second that.
Judy back as of Monday morning.
I'll second it.
Larry, second, third, okay. All those in favor of that, any other discussion limited?
All investigations have been cleared and
We
everything?
That we
can't,
can't
we
really get
can't
into all
talk
of
about that.
alleged, yeah, but good point. And so to that point, we, the council, are privy to some information that will become a lot more clearer as we progress. And that's all I dare say, but the council, the motion is on second to have our city administrator, our financial director back on, taking her off of the paid administrative leave to be here duly reemployed again at Monday morning, 8 o'clock sharp. That's the motion. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Passed unanimous. Welcome back. Okay, now we have DE was,
That was myself bringing up the quarry issue.
yep, go ahead, Bill.
E, with the email that was sent out, I would like the council to reestablish hours of work.
Yep,
You can't see this, but I just got 2 pictures of what's going on right now. Looks like a cloud to me.
yeah. And so, when we address that, we also have to be cognizant of the IUP that's pending, and that'll take public input, and that'll go
Yeah,
into your
so,
committee.
so I have a Sue question.
Yep, Please proceed.
Can this council, for interim use or
Short term,
short-term, inflict more stringent hours?
You're talking about having more stringent hours between now and the time that the
Right.
IUP is
Yeah.
considered?
Yep,
Considering they're operating without an IUP?
That's
then
correct.
yes.
okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, you guys, that operational hours go from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. No weekends.
no weekends? Okay.
These people have a right to live
Yep.
a normal life.
Is there
I would we'll do,
continued discussion, please?
there's a discussion on it.
Yeah.
Construction-wide throughout the state, I mean, I've been
Oh, just a
all,
second. So that it doesn't lack, I'll make
No.
that second for discussion purposes. Go ahead.
construction-wide throughout the state of Minnesota, every place I've been at, whenever you're within city limits, there is no work until 7 a.m. And that means there's no noise. You can't start your equipment at 6:30. Nothing starts until 7 a.m. And now it goes on weekdays. Weekends, it's 8 a.m. And then depending on the cities and the situation, it could be even later.
Okay. So with your suggestion,
My
I'm
suggestion would
taking-
be if they-
I will change my motion to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.,
Okay.
Monday through Friday. Thank you.
And just so that there's clarity, the state pollution control agency, there's the soft noise, engine diesels building up, ready for production, 7 o'clock. So they're allowed to do that prior to, as long as it's below that certain sound decibels, or something like that, intermittent. And there's a lot of research, a lot
I
of
don't
it's
think
done.
we want to go there. I'm just
I'm
going to
just-
say
please,
7
please.
to
Should we
5.
be setting a
Please.
planning commission meeting in
Well,
advance?
That's our next-
That's our next, that's
Yeah.
not this.
There's a
Well,
motion.
it's not this, but what I'm saying is, get a date set to deal with it.
Well,
Yeah.
Sewell probably has that in mind for the
Yep.
IUP.
And so to that end, though, assuming that we go forward and you get the majority of the council to go forward that motion, how is that going to be enforceable? Because local law enforcement will not go in there to do the enforcement unless we have that, and they strongly recommend that local law enforcement needs to have a, yeah.
Well, I sure think that this council, along with the neighbors, if we get more complaints about that they don't meet this, we need to look at it.
Yeah. The shorter that we allow the production, the longer the agony will continue into the winter or something like that. And one of the questions that I was trying to get answered, based on the rate of production thus far, the noise is ruined, and that you've heard a lot of comments tonight, all of them legitimate, very professionally done thus far. How do we turn around and have that taken care of so that it sounds like we cannot stop the continuation and the berm will be eradicated in a timely fashion? And I heard something, not on the record, but somewhere around October 1st as a target date. And I don't, that shouldn't be on the record, but that's quite frankly what I heard. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, and I can see it from my point a mile up the road. Thanks, Bill.
Do we know right now what our nuisance ordinance or what our, because I know there's something
7 a.m.
on,
to 10 p.m.
That's the
That's a
noise
city
ordinance.
Noise ordinance.
is the,
But it has to
I'm
be,
trying to think of how I want to ask this. I know, because I've read it, I just don't remember where it is. There's something in regards to construction operations on the books right now. Hours. Is that in our nuisance ordinance or is that in
nuisance.
our?
No.
Yeah, there's something
Yeah,
in
there
there.
is, yeah. In another chapter of my life, when I have operated equipment, there's an esteemed past mayor in the building, and he will recall that. And I made noise until 5 minutes after 10 one night, and I was called in the carpet. And about that same time, somebody just hit a home run at the softball diamond. So I said, okay, how are we going to control that? So to that end, unless we do
motion
this.
and a second.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second. And so to that end, the question I have is that if this prevails, how do we enforce that? Do we turn around and say, law enforcement must come in there, and they'll say, has there been a noise, decibel sounds 3 feet
No,
above, all
no.
that good stuff? That needs to be done by a certified, and it was done by Cold Spring City at this, Cold Spring at this point. So you've read about all of that, and that we're moving forward, and I hear the pain as much as anybody.
Well, what I heard the gentleman from Cold Spring say, and correct me if I'm wrong, they want to work with the city.
Yes, they do.
And if the city and Cold Spring can work together and honor this, I believe they would do it.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way they can control that dust.
I invite the representatives that spoke earlier, both the vendor plus, if you'd care to walk up to the podium
No,
and work
this
with
is
us,
not
or
an
no. If it's, all it is it's an opportunity for us to
This isn't
collectively.
open.
It does not need to go into closed session. If there is movement here, the motion is 6 a.m. 7 a.m.? Was that it now, Bill?
Jesus, 7 a.m.
To 5
to
p.m.
5 p.m.
Okay.
Monday through Friday.
In the discussion mode, I invite either or both of those gentlemen to share with us, is that something that they feel that's
Sue,
workable?
is that any kind of enforceable?
Well, right now, they're operating without a permit. Whether or not I can convince Stearns County Sheriff's
Right.
Office to enforce it, I don't know.
That's my only concern.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill, I understand, and I agree, we need to do something. But if we put something here as a motion and
Pass it,
it's
yeah.
not enforceable, it's doing nothing.
They're operating without a permit, Brian.
I understand that.
Well, then if you understand that, maybe they shouldn't be operating at all.
Well, and that's a fair question.
It's not a threat, by the way, it's just
Yeah.
a question.
Again, I asked Steve or John in a personal, if either of there would care to address, this is your golden opportunity. If not, we will act on that motion. So, John, please, if you would.
Sure. So my only statement in regards to operational hours, and you had stated it earlier, with accomplishing the goal of recycling the waste grout pile that's been accumulating for 125 years, the tighter we constrict operational hours during the week, the longer the duration of the project is dragging into the fall. So I think it's a matter of what the preference would be.
Okay.
And then we just heard our own attorney say we could set these limits.
And we did not get an answer how it's enforceable. It's not enforceable. And I invite again the representative from Cold Spring, if they care to also, because it's on their land. We don't want to blemish the working relationship we've had in the past. Looking forward to being a great neighbor again. So again, any last comments before I call the question? Either one.
You know what, and absolutely, we 100% believe we want to work together. The challenge, like John was just indicating, is there's a set amount of rock there that they're trying to get through. And the scope of the project is the amount of rock and the Highway 23 project. So if 7 to 5 are the hours, and Saponiac can live with 7 to 5, and you can live with 7 to 5, we're not going to argue with that. You just have to know that the scope of the project gets longer, and we just have to realize that and understand that.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you
Yep.
very much.
And thank you.
And I think a lot of the people that came and made the complaints this evening were making the complaints a lot because it was going so late in the evening. I mean, most of them, I have a feeling, I don't think they'd have a problem if it extended a little bit longer to get the job done. It's just that they want to be able to enjoy their
Life.
being outside, their livelihoods being at their homes in the evening.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to call the question and the motion that's on the floor, and if it fails, we regroup here and continue. So the motion on the floor is to have the entity that's owned, which would be Cold Spring, send a signal to Cold Spring that we, the city, would require their vendor to start no earlier than 7 and no later than 5 p.m. and no activity on Saturday or Sunday. That's the motion. Any other discussion for clarification? Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
And that is 4-5, and I'll vote against that motion. I didn't hear it clear, so let's have a roll call vote due to the dissension in the ranks. Mr. Bill Becker?
Yes.
Okay. Jerry?
Yes.
Dwayne Wellenbring, no. Brian Stanger?
Yes.
Brian Herberg?
Yes.
It passed on a 4-1 vote, and that is the clear signal. Susan, how do we have you generate that document, or how was that taken care of, that the city by majority vote mandates, or
Can't
however?
we just send a
I can send
letter
a
from the
letter.
city?
Okay,
Yeah.
from the city? Can we do
To
that?
Coldspring.
Certified? Or, I mean, we don't want to complicate it. They're sitting here, they heard the action, but it should be followed up with paperwork. So the city will generate a letter to Cold Spring that that's the requirement from the city of Rockville. Okay, we accomplished that mission? Thank you very much, gentlemen, and people that are listening.
Can I
Please.
ask that it be set for a public hearing then, so we can keep?
Of
the
course,
process
that's our
moving
next move. A time certain that we can have a public hearing for the continuation
How
of the
how
effort of
soon do
getting
you want it,
IUP.
like next month?
forward? Yeah, as soon as we can. We have to do the published notice of it, so,
So we could do it the first Wednesday of September.
yep.
That would be our standard planning and zoning meeting, and it would be circulated. Very good. Bill will be, as the chairman of that, will be orchestrating that with our staff and legal counsel. Okay, that takes care of E. F, we have interim city administration / clerk. We have our current financial director coming back on board Monday morning. I believe that we will be asking her, but all of us should agree, if she accepts on a very short term the interim city administrator, that would be one option, or do we reach out? The League of Minnesota Cities are aware of our situation, reached out to Susan, our legal counsel. Susan reached and advanced to the city several well-versed, interim city administrators that are historically in, I don't know if I'd say the afternoon of their life, but have served, moved along, and they continue to serve in the era of administration. Do we look at that, or do we wait until Judy's back and then make that determination?
I would suggest we wait till our finance director is back and have a discussion with her,
Yep,
and then
personnel, and then,
work with Sue on,
I think we should consider a treasury clerk, move Deb to full-time, and go with that on a trial basis. I'm not really in favor of getting a new city administrator. Why wouldn't it work with a treasury clerk?
well, one other thing, Jerry, if I could, and that is our job description of our city administrator is some age, it wasn't really moved a whole lot from when Reno was, then Judy was very short-term interim administrator, then Marty came on board for 6.5+ years now. And so it's wise for us to stop, make sure that the job description is appropriate. And I'm going to go on a limb here, but make sure that whoever it has people skills. Okay, we have to be very careful how we're going here. We don't want to go and cause any provocation or something like that. But some of those things are not spelled out real succinctly in our job description. We don't ever want to need to go through this process again. So,
yeah, and I think we'd want to talk to our employees before we
yes, another
even
key
consider
ingredient.
that.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, no action will be taken right now. for short-term interim city administration. If it's long-term, Judy says, and I've shared with her, says, do you yearn to be someday a city administrator? She says, no way. That was a polite, okay, thank you very much for that comment. So that is not in her, and that's not in her DNA to yearn to be a city administrator now or for foreseeable future. So that's something that I'm aware of at this point, and I think that because of this delicate situation, that we need to cautiously move forward. But the five of us, we have to make a commitment that we do this right. And if it takes some time before we either have downsizing, that's another size or so, but we need to cautiously move forward, and it's going to take a little bit of things. So public, bear with us. No action will be taken then as of tonight until we get Judy back, and we'll have a proper dialogue with her, the five of us collectively, and our legal counsel to be there, and then we'll go a step further. I hope that's as clear as we can make it at this point tonight. We have a limited amount of flexibility. To that point, I think we're dangerously close to adjournment unless there's some real compelling information.
Yes, we got
Oh,
one
sorry.
other thing. I had a resident call me about the, I don't know, you'd call it the old gas station or what. There doesn't seem to be any maintenance done there. I think some of those vehicles don't even have license plates on. I don't think it's the nicest thing to see in the city. I wonder if we can either get an answer of what's going on there or have it cleaned up a little bit or something.
Good idea.
I mean, I was gonna kind of question that myself, because I have seen that there's been a car parked on the sidewalk for the last how many days, weeks?
Years.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't know if we ever said it, but the reason I think we got such a, I think, really good job with our streets and roads in the city was because of our road committee. And if you see any of those guys, they put a lot of work in it. They gave us a lot of good advice. And I think we need to get a parks board going again, and maybe a couple other committees, because I think it certainly helps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I entertain a motion for adjournment, I'm going to go and take a point of personal privilege. There's an enormous amount of people that have gone through 6.5 years of,
Careful.
What do I say? Yes, I will. I'm going to use the word, a bit of a nightmare. And so we, the council, have worked on your behalf unbelievably this last month. Staff has gone through challenging times, the public has. So let this be the start of a era or I put it down here, and I'm going to just say that the dawn of a new era, peace and harmony in the city of Rockville. A motion to adjourn was in order.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion to adjourn is not debatable. I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Lawsuit 5742.